Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God in the Awakening Together Sanctuary. The Awakening Together Sanctuary is an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The host of Herein Lies the Peace of God is Reverend Jacquelyn and Eckert, the President Minister of Awakening Together. Our co-host is your favorite anarchist preacher, Reverend Glen Ganaway, integral scholar. The Course in Miracles says this about discerning one truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Sing glory, glory, hallelujah. How wonderful thy holy name. Now I can see with God's own vision, and I see peace instead of pain. Yes, I see peace instead of pain. I can see peace instead of pain.
Doggy.
Sweet doggy. That's how it always is. How are you tonight, Jackie?
Good. Worked hard today. I'll sleep good tonight.
Oh, good. You work hard on Fridays?
Well, it's my day off.
So you're working for yourself.
I'm working for myself. I got nobody to blame but me.
I know. Yeah, I do that on the weekends and kick myself for sleeping in, and but that's what I want to do. So that's what I do. Right? It's just like sleep until I cannot sleep anymore. This is a real luxury. You know?
I love that.
Yeah,
till like 7:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah, I've been getting. Yeah, that's about right. You know, it's like, oh my God, I have to get up. But have you? We're doing faithfulness.
We're doing faithfulness,
right?
Yes.
We're going to talk about faith tonight, and we got to listen to the blues. We got to listen to McCrae do some blues today. So thinking about like the lead-in for having faith is the blues is a real good frame, a real good mind to go into talking about this. Have you thought much about faith this week?
Well, yeah, but not on purpose.
It always works that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, that's the message that I've been getting really, really clearly. And of course, we'll get into this more when we actually get into the reading. But it's like, faith in all circumstances. And it's across the board. And inner wisdom says you don't need to think. Don't you worry about that. I got that part. So. Yeah, so it's really been present for me this week. How about you?
Oh yeah. I have to call Yolanda on my way home from work so that I don't get in trouble sometimes.
Crossing the crosswalk with the guy parked in it.
Yeah. And the people that throw garbage out of their cars, I keep trying to return it, and that they don't. They're so ungrateful for me giving them back. I know. You surely did not. You surely were not doing that just now.
On purpose. Surely you didn't throw this out your window on purpose.
No, it couldn't have been. You need this back. Clearly, all that tissue. So I call Yolanda, and it's like to come to the other side of this, with and working on the lesson this week was like you don't need to defeat evil was what we were talking about in lesson 14. We're on lesson 14 talking about correct perception, not it's like if you want to see and fight evil, that's like a recipe for, not the world that you say you want to create. You're not going to say what world that creates, but we're looking at a lot of those consequences right now in the way the world is.
So it's so interesting. That's what I was teaching in my Wednesday program too. So we're always on the same page.
This has been the week for it. Well, there we are. We always knew that we track. You work with somebody long enough, and you begin to track together. It's sort of uncanny, isn't it? But we've got one more to do, right?
That's correct. After faithfulness, we will do open-mindedness, and then we have agreed that we could all use a break for the summer.
Yeah, we're gonna have you get to go on vacation, self-study from here on out, and I want to see those papers when we start up again. You'll be getting the syllabus and the deadline from me.
I don't doubt that.
I know.
I'm sure Glenn will still call me once a week and go, "Did you think about faithfulness?"
I can slip that in there if you need me to. Join my email letter, and I'm actually not kidding. I'm going to keep going with this. With the like we do every year. I've been teaching the Course in Miracles every year for about little over 10 years, and it's changed my life because it works. And I teach it because it works, and I believe in these the characteristics of the teacher as kind of like, what does a real human being look like if you weren't making it up and you were going to be told what a human being looks like and acts like. I think that's a very good way to start. So I think is it whose turn is it to read this time?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Shauna, do you know? Do you know who read last time? Shauna knows.
You read last time, Jacquelyn, so it's Glen's turn.
All right. Oh, there you go. Somebody has got a memory here.
Thank you, right. Shauna.
This is number 9, and maybe we'll have to do a little numerology lesson at the beginning of each one of these things to talk about where the numbers are falling and all this. So it's always interesting. So this is a number 9. Hermit.
Well, tell us what 9 is.
All right, 9 is a hermit, and it's like almost complete. It's knowledge about to be like demonstrated. Yeah, think about the hermit in tarot cards. That's number 9. Tarot. Okay. So we're doing faithfulness. In my Christian ideology, I had to concentrate on reading this, so hopefully I won't do this. So, but just as a warning, my brain still sees faithlessness.
Talk about programming, right?
So I see faithlessness. Faithfulness doesn't actually roll off my tongue as easily as just like perfectly honest with you. So hopefully, if I say it wrong, you will step in and say, I will. Okay. I just give you permission right ahead of the thing to like say, I had to concentrate on doing this. So we'll see how well I do with, so this is a number 9. It's called faithfulness. The extent of the teacher of God's faithfulness is the measure of his advancement in the curriculum. Does he still select some aspects of his life to bring to his learning while keeping others apart? If so, his advancement is limited and his trust not yet firmly established. Faithfulness is the teacher of God's trust in the Word of God to set all things right. Not some, but all. Generally, his faithfulness begins by resting on just some problems, remaining carefully limited for a time. To give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely. And that alone is faithfulness. Nothing but that really deserves the name. Yet each degree, however small, is worth achieving. Readiness, as the text notes, is not mastery. True faithfulness, however, does not deviate. Being consistent, it is wholly honest. Being unswerving, it is full of trust. Being based on fearlessness, it is gentle. Being certain, it is joyous, and being confident, it is tolerant. Faithfulness then combines in itself the other attributes of God's teachers. It implies acceptance of the Word of God and His definition of His Son. It is to them that faithfulness, in the true sense, is always directed. Toward them it looks, seeking until it finds. Defenselessness attends it naturally, and joy is its condition. And having found, it rests in quiet and certainty on that alone to which all faithfulness is due.
Okay.
3 times fast.
What?
No, it's a lot. There's a lot of grammar there.
Yes, there is. It's a mouthful. Well, again, this is the perfect lesson for me now. In fact, let me just look and see if this is what I am to do. Let's see. I'm looking at. I'm sorry. Sorry for the uhs and the ahs and the pauses. But I'm looking at what I wrote with inner wisdom, and I think I will start with that. That's what feels like being called for. You know, we're doing the gentle healing year 3. We read quotes compiled by Michael Langford in the 7 Steps to Awakening, and we contemplate those quotes. And my contemplation is generally, Father, what would you share with me regarding these quotes? That's about as far as Jacquelyn gets, right? And so I do want to read this one. It says, I would have you see that if you surrender yourself fully to me, / capital S, self, I would have you see that if you surrender yourself fully to me, self, you have done what was intended. It is this endeavor that results in living thought-free within the heart. You know this to be true. You need merely tweak your approach in order to remain thought-free. And then one of the women in our class was talking this week about living on a trust fund, and she did not mean money. And I just loved that conception. And so Inner Wisdom said that conception of a trust fund comes to mind as a reminder that you need not take thought for anything. All will be right on time, right as rain, and just what the doctor ordered. Trust, trust, trust. It is all yours by natural birthright. You need merely learn to distinguish between the I of the body, world, and the I that animates. Your identification matters. When you are presented with a notion, ask it, have you come to me from the heart? In this sense, heart is the spiritual mind, the one who knows, from which emanates the trust used to give up thought. Do this more and more by learning not to think for yourself. This might be more easily understood as not turning to the mind to solve even your minor problems. Remember, the thinking mind is the problem maker. Ask me, I will lead you. Amen. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty sure that's what Helen said. I mean, we're at least on the same track, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's even, even this last part about, minor problems. I mean, that's where Helen starts
for a while. Yeah, she says.
This section on, wait a minute, wait. That's where she starts this section on faithfulness. Mm-hmm. And she says the extent of the teacher of God's faithfulness is the measure of his advancement in the curriculum. Does he still select some aspects of his life to bring to his learning while keeping others apart? And we've heard this said in different ways in the course, and heard it for years. It's like, yeah, Father, take care of that, but this is so important that I'm going to take care of this myself, right? Which never works. And it's frankly, we we know we want to let go of control because this is the mess that we've made, right? I understand they say in AA, your stinking thinking got you here. So, but it's not just because we're going to do a crappy job if we try and take the reins ourselves. It's because you can't be a little bit pregnant. You know, you're either listening to the truth, from the truth of what you are, listening to the heart, as Inner Wisdom was talking to me about, or you're listening to ego, to the thinking mind. And if you choose to listen to ego, that is faithlessness. Because the ego is going to go, okay, here's how the world works. Here's how you are. Here's how that guy is. Here's what's going to happen next. I mean, that's the whole, you once you take one bite, that's it. Yeah. So I really think that that's what, well, that's what this says to me at any rate. I don't know if that's what Helen was saying, but that's certainly what it says to me. Let me see. Faithfulness is the teacher of God's trust in the word of God to set all things right, not some, but all. Let's see. Yep. We do that for a little while, she says. And then she talks about to give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely. And this is what I'm talking about, column A, column B, inner wisdom, faith and inner wisdom. And what do I do now? Or let me figure this out for myself. I mean, those are always our two choices. And as we're also told elsewhere in, I was trying to slow down. I realized I'm going, as we are also told elsewhere in A Course in Miracles, one problem, one solution. And the problem is not, that I can't make my rent. The problem is not that, it's not even that I'm unhappy. The problem is that I'm mistaken about who I am. And she addresses that here. And she says, let's see, this faithfulness implies acceptance of the word of God and his definition of his son. So it's like, if you're faithful in all things, you have shifted your identification, right? And that's all that's required. I mean, that's all that is required, because that's what enlightenment is. That's what waking up is. It's that shift in identification. I realize that I'm here in this world and we're having a good time, and it feels like I'm a body and you're a body over there. But the truth of it is that is not what's going on. What's going on? Well, there's only one thing going on here. You've heard me say more than once. Okay, so I just fell off my bulletin board. Let me just see what else I want to say. Let me just get still for a minute.
Great.
Yeah. I love the final paragraph here. She's like, faith is, well, let me just look at the wording. Faithfulness, then I almost did it too, Glenn. Faithfulness then combines in itself the other attributes of God's teachers. That's beautiful. It's full of trust. Let's see. It's unswerving, right? It's always, the truth is always true. You're not going to show up one day and go, truth, are you there? And it's like, no, I'm too busy for you. Truth is always true. It's unswerving, and therefore it is full of trust. It's fearless, and therefore it's gentle. It's certain, and therefore joyous. I mean, so then you get to again, skip through this world and go, wasn't that fun? And remember when we did that, and then that fun? I mean, without this, clutching to, I got to hit things this way, or I'm not going to be okay. Right? It's the exact opposite of that. It's like everything is worn lightly. Yeah, let me see if there's anything. Obviously it's defenseless. Herein lies the peace of God. It's the name of the program, right? Nothing real can be threatened. That's the faith. That's what the faith is. Where's the threat? It's all play at that point. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. It's just play. Herein lies the peace of God. So faithfulness just wraps it all up in a nice, neat little bow there. And I think that's all I have to say.
Yay! It really is. I'll do a little bit of because this is very fresh. It's in that last paragraph. It sounded like she was doing an old hymn. Faith of our fathers. He's steadfast and you can trust. It just sounded like the refrain from an old Baptist hymn. Mm-hmm. Those, it's so it's like gets absolutely like in just like memories and layers.
What's that hymn? Something in the everlasting arms.
Oh, leaning on him. Yeah. Oh, well, funny you should mention that. When I really had my big aha moment back in 2004, in the summer of 2004, I could smell church oil from like pews. I smell, and I've lost my sense of smell for years. And I could smell the church oil from the thing, and I sang "Leaning on the Everlasting Arms" for about 6 months. After just like one of those, just one of those things. So yeah, that song is embedded into my DNA. It's funny you should really mention that. So we come up with these. We really do have a cultural attachment to faith. We seriously, as Americans, talk to Americans about what they believe faith is. We're talking on top of, that discussion, so which is just very interesting that she was really serious about turning these things upside down. She even uses the word, if you understand this as one solution, this is a reversal. I mean, it isn't like some of it's like like you're saying, some of it's okay. There's just have to pick and choose. You just have to learn what parts to there's some weeds and some flowers, and you just have to be just
just be careful.
No, it's like turn around from where you're going, stop going that way, and go the other way. I mean, you want to talk about what she talks about. The way that we're taught that the world works, she goes, don't believe a word of it. And when somebody tries to convince you of that, walk the other way. It really is, don't. I've heard that so clear. Stop arguing with the way that God is working in other people's lives. I was joking in class. One of my students says, "So I think it's about time you had 'I'm not your teacher' etched on the inside of your glasses," because maybe not everybody is your student.
Really, somebody said that too, did they?
Yeah. That it's not my job to make to round the flock together. Those cultural things are so deep, and they really, really are. I am still, so have faith in what I was taught about faith is you have faith in the brutal not caring. It was just brutal not caring. And the faith I have in today is like a living, God really does care for those people, care for the people that I can't, that I'm so mad at, or that I think that embody the evil in the world. To have faith instead of looking, despite what the world tells us and how it uses the word faith and things like that. So
wait. I am interrupting, and I apologize, but I want to get clear on what you've just said. You said something about a cultural conception of faith as a brutal not caring, and I don't know what that means. So can you explain that?
I was raised that having faith meant you did what the preacher said.
Oh. Yolanda didn't like that one.
I know.
No.
There's a hierarchy. There's the preacher and the way that things were done and the way you had to, where your dress had to, how your dress had to be, the haircut you could have, and you had faith, that's how you showed your faith. That was having faith in, it was more like having faith in the culture, the cultural norms that we're trying to preserve in the name of like safety or whatever or something like that. That's what you're watching me actually process it right in front of you, so do a little bit of like understanding about what this feeling is, what that action is, what that view is, what that perspective is. So yes, that's what I grew up, the faith that I grew up with was a faith in something that was unquestioning and brutal.
It's more like discipline or obedience.
Yes, more like discipline and obedience.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm describing discipline and obedience, aren't I? Yes.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah. It disguises faith. They're saying, this is faith.
Right.
So these were really red flags for me when I got into A Course in Miracles. It was something that I just was like really had trouble hearing when I first got into words like faith. Were really, so I get people that go, the Course in Miracles is like, I get it. I totally get it. And that's why she says, I remind people that the Course in Miracles is all about not doing all the things that you're mad at religion for doing. So all right. But I like this. I like what she says about faithfulness, and you really did come really good take at it. And I always enjoy what you say. She calls this. We get a measure of how well we understand things. She gives you a measuring stick, and she said, if you want to compare about how well you're doing, she doesn't compare you how well you're doing to anybody else. The comparison is, look, check in with your feelings, check in with your life. Have you learned this curriculum? Are you having this experience of oneness? Do you see this world as your art form? Do you see peace all around you? Are you always meeting me in the street? There's a real, it's like, that's the measure. That's the measure. How well you do that. It's really good, and it's unflinching. I think if we can make that kind of realizing that, pull my designs out of everybody and pull my designs out of the world, maybe I get to have my desires, I get to like what, I don't,
sure.
My desires, and I get to have my desires and my talents, but I really don't get to have the design, and that is interesting to me because it designs itself. That's the faith that I'm understanding, is that if I'm here and if I'm doing the present, if I'm being the Glen I'm asked to being, instead of trying to get something, have an agenda with who Glen is and needs to appear as, if I can rein that back in, that feels like faith in whatever is moving me is also moving them and everything else, that I'm not the, I like the Shakespeare says, it's one play. The Hindus say this is Leela. It's a play. And you said at the very end, herein, if nothing real can be threatened. So we're playing. So that faith, and that's why she says that, we're talking about it. She goes, defenselessness, is its characteristic, defenselessness, and joy follows it. Joy is its condition. Remember we talked about a couple weeks ago, it's that little puppy, it's that little joy that is following us around everywhere we go. It's just so, I like thinking about it. Helps me remember this stuff. But she doesn't let us get too far.
Of course not. It's A Course in Miracles, written by Helen Schuckman. Of course she does.
She gives us all the praise of the world and says, sweet child of mine, climb up on my knee. And then she says, readiness isn't mastery, darling. So quit beating yourself up for like not comparing yourself again to where you think you're supposed to be. Even having designs on yourself, is out of the, is not, is something we can't even look at, and so aren't you glad mastery isn't required? You don't have to like pass a test to get into heaven.
Yeah, and at some point here, when you're done, I will, or now.
No, this is a conversation. I'm enjoying this.
Okay, well, let me say that when I heard that, what I heard, readiness is not mastery, is it's not going to do you a bit of good to read this stuff in A Course in Miracles and go, oh, I like that concept, and that's really cool, and then not practice it. So just being, eager and reading this stuff is not enough. You are not going to move from column A to column B or vice versa, just on theory. Right? This is not, and she tells us that of course, at the beginning of the course, this is not about teaching you a new theory. This is about changing your mind. Mm-hmm. Changing your mind requires actually implementing what we're learning here. And readiness just ain't going to cut it. No. That's what I read.
It is readiness. Yeah, I know you're ready. I know you think you're ready, but when things start to happen in your life, your life will surely show it, and you'll be happy, and we'll know it, and and we'll all clap our hands.
And it will, because it's like, what happens when somebody's nasty to you? Well, you're nasty right back. Well, you may be ready for a change, but you're not practicing the change.
I know. Well, I'm trying to change my neighbor. Apparently that's my. Actually, I'm not. I'm really trying. Like they do that thing. It's like I want to understand where that comes from. I want to like fully, like heal that and understand where that comes from. So I'm not going to run away from it. If everything's okay and I get to, know who this child of God is, that I'm told is like all this in a bag of chips, then I also don't need to be afraid of me and my mess ups or my failures, even my failures and not getting it right and not having mastery and falling on my face or admitting when I've been in error. That's, it's like, there you go. It has to be that way. So am I really going to cultivate a world where I say one thing and do the other? That I'm going to, well, until a few weeks ago, yes, regarding that in particular. But, we're here and we're all faithful. So we got to measure. And we figured out that.
By the way, let me say,
okay.
When I said when somebody's nasty to you, you're nasty right back, I didn't mean you, Glenn. I just want to be clear on that. I meant, the general you.
I know certainly how to be nasty, at Glen Ganaway, Twitter.com. Come say hello. We get a measure, so everything is there to look at for our learning. Is kind of the point I'm trying to make. So if we can look at everything as an opportunity to learn, it's like what's valuable? Oh, everything, but you don't think it's valuable because it's all trying to teach you something. So it's all valuable. So if you could learn to see your own life and your world and everything that's happening in front of you as valuable because it's trying to bring you to God, maybe you'd pay more attention, maybe a little bit more, and she goes, don't worry, every little bit we're going to celebrate, we're going to give, we're going to keep getting rewards all the way down the line. Don't worry, don't worry, Padawan, it'll all be okay. She's, faithfulness is this trust. I like faithfulness. Where I was hearing it was faith in my own inner. Well, you said your heart, so I hear like inner wisdom in my own authentic presencing. Not with no agenda, no way to be other than sharing at the highest skill level I know how to do. That, and faith in that, just faith in that, is glorious. It actually works. But it's like, but she asked you, she goes, this is a muscle, You know, you're gonna try it a little bit, and you're gonna try to keep things away. And I'm never gonna come. We're never gonna go look under your bed. You know, we aren't gonna come in, and I'm gonna find the cigarettes under the mattress. You know, I'm not gonna come into your room and say, I see. You know, that's not Jesus. You know, the Holy Spirit is not gonna do that. You know, we think that's what God is gonna do. You know, take the locks off of your door, come in and invade your privacy. You know, say, I read your journal. I didn't know what you did. You know, not do we have faith? Is there something beyond? Is there a relationship we can have with what is real and who we are beyond that faith that we were taught about as a child?
The discipline and the obedience. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
You know, so we have to be. This faith is also allowing others to fail and be awful.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
Mm.
turns out, true faithfulness. And then she sings us the old Southern hymn about faith. You know, consistency and honesty, unswerving and full of trust, in fearlessness and gentleness, in certain and joyous, and confident and tolerant. You know, maybe we're just gonna think up your own melody, but there's another aspect of this I was playing with. There's each of these contains a masculine and a one column contains a masculine, the other column contains the feminine. One column contains an attitude, the other one contains an action.
Mm. Okay.
It takes
Cool.
it takes a little bit of there's some generalizing there, but I think there's a pretty clear pattern that of a thought and an action, or a way of being and an attitude and an action to take.
Wow.
And a way of thinking about a mother figure and a father figure. The mother as, you know, the father as the consistent, and the mother as, you know, there's, I think it's nice, fearlessness and gentleness, mother and father, an action and an attitude.
Mm.
You know, so I liked those as well. You know, she just layered it up for me, you know. But, you know, I think all of these principles work in all aspects of life. So what are fearless animals? Ones who really know their place and are disguised really well, you know, like not moving. You know, that's you ever see a moth that was perfectly outright on the tree? It's not moving. You could go right up to it, you know, because it believes it has complete faith that it's, you know,
It's concealed.
it's like, you can't see me, because I'm alive, you know. You know, I don't know, you know, but that's also the kind of faith that I mean. I mean faith in who you are, faith in that deep sense of knowing and authenticity. I'm safe because I'm being me. There's no other way. There's nothing else to do. I have great faith in wanting to be what is mine to do, wanting to be me. I've faith in my direction. I have faith in, you know, my awakening, you know, the community that I'm in, you know, but it requires, like you said, not to just be ready, but to actually, there's an action, like I wanted to point out. I agree. There's an action step here. She's asking us to take on this attitude, but then take action with it, you know. And when, you know, what is the historical Jesus quoted as saying? Faith without works is
dead. Dead.
Yeah, I think that's a quote. Faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
I think it's James quoting Jesus, so I don't know how many people that is. So there's that. Faithfulness is action on the knowledge of who we are, is what I wrote at the very end. You know, faithfulness is the action on the knowledge of who we are. You know.
Yeah. That's perfect.
And it's this deep, if you can get to faith in yourself, you've done some real good self-acceptance. You know, if you're willing to trust yourself again, you know, like maybe we haven't ever really trusted ourselves, willing to get to the trust of I mean, we were talking about in the class the other day. I says, look, there's a part of you that knows, and there's a part of you that doesn't know, right? You know, and the part of you that doesn't know falls in love and stubs their toe and gets it wrong, and all these kind of things. So that isn't. We were talking about Jekyll and Hyde. That isn't the bad part of you. The part of you that doesn't know and is falling or cries or mourns or feels or has trouble or is oddly eccentric. That's not the problem. That's not the evil part. That's not the part that has to be. That's the part that she's trying to get us to understand. I think that she's trying to get us to understand that there's a with deep acceptance, you will know what you're for. You will know that what you're for, and that you're the child of God, and it's important. This oneness idea, this realization that we're not alone and friendless, you know, is magical. It turns us into the really wonderful, caring person that she's trying to say, that this gentle person who's not afraid. You know, what kind of characteristic is that? That would be really, that looks like, Yolanda and I are getting into anime. I know we're probably the last people on earth that are getting into anime, watching these mythologies going into, and there's, you know, some of this stuff is like really archetypical and amazing, with talking about the gentle, you know, this idea of a gentle warrior, you know, this truly, you know, very, very gentle warrior who just shows up and defends people, the innocent, from, you know, the samurai thing, you know. It's so, so there's so many really good ideas that I think she's putting these things together on purpose. You know, she puts gentleness and fearlessness together. She puts certain and joyous together. She puts confident and tolerant. You want to talk about, it's Pride Month. So you want to talk about what the world does with, you know, with the idea of confident and tolerant. You know, what kind of tolerance would you offer if you were confident? We talked about tolerance not too long ago being an engineering term about the stress of something, the range of that something could function in. You know, it's like that kind of tolerance, that faith that goes into faith. And she's talking about tolerance in a paragraph about faith. You know, during Pride, and we push back a lot against tolerance. I don't just want tolerance, but she doesn't do that. She says, it's faith in, it's like, this person cannot frighten me. This person doesn't have the ability to take away or steal the world or steal my joy or anything like that. I am confident in who I am. You know, that nobody else's presentation is going to threaten my confidence in who I am and what I'm about.
Yeah.
There's no threat there, you know. So the tolerance is really, really great. It's a good word in that sense, you know. So fearlessness and gentleness. It's just the consistency and honesty. I'm gonna commission a hymn, maybe.
There you go. I bet you know somebody who could write that.
Great is my faithfulness is the hymn that I'm trying to think of. Great is his faithfulness, mighty is his wonder, or something like that. Full is his glory, and just like, you know, it's all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a little scary. That sounds very masculine. You know, it's like,
lungs with 50 other people out of their minds on God.
That's great. That's great. Go ahead.
Oh no. We can open it up to any questions this is going on. I've had a good long rant, so that's a.
You do that well, though. And listen, here's what else I want to say before we talk to some other folks, and that is I really appreciated when you read it. When you read it, let me just back up. The extent of the teacher of God's fearlessness is the measure of his advancement in the curriculum. And it struck me as like the curriculum. So I absolutely loved the way you put it, and you do. And I really appreciate your heart and your authenticity. And the way that you put it when you were speaking about it a moment ago was, are you having this experience of oneness? Are you always meeting me on the street with Jesus, right? Yeah, whatever you do to the least of these, you do unto me, right? But it was just, I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, seriously, you wouldn't walk around behind Jesus and go, well, he shouldn't have done that way.
Oh, I know. I know.
Or Jesus, just stop.
I know. I know. Shouldn't have broke the law.
Yeah, you ought to know better.
I know.
But that conception of the curriculum is really coming to that experiential sense of oneness. Is just it's beautiful. So thank you for sharing that.
It's beginning to strike me at how completely natural it is, you know, and we have to be talked out of it and taught out of it, you know, because giving somebody a little bit, it's like finding your tribe. You remember, like when you found the people that was like, oh my God, I'm actually not alone and friendly, like your little crew or whatever like that. How big the world got just by seeing people who saw you. How big did your world get? How much more information? How much larger and full did you feel finding those people? Now, how about that experience with every living thing? She says that if you do this, there will be a silver light around everything that you see. Everything will be illuminated. You will understand what it means when I say we're made of light. Because even the physics, what's so cool about the physics thing is that we are a planet going around a sun, going around a black hole, spinning at the speed of light. So we are on a planet spinning around a sun, going the speed of light around a black hole, going the speed of light. So we are moving at the speed of light, literally, physically, as the sun goes through and the planets chase it like this. You know, we're rushing around this disk, and it's all, and this is one of numbers we don't have words for, and we can't even see as far as, all this happens. And that's just the reflection of God that we can look at.
Yeah.
That's as much as God as we can physically look at from where our perspective. And that's only her reflection. That's only the part of her that we can physically see and measure. It's, and what if that thing said, I want to give you everything that you see and can't understand. I want to give it all to you. I want you to have access to everything that I am, even stuff you don't even know you have access to.
Yeah, I think you said last week something about
we turn it all down. We talk ourselves out of it, I think she says.
Yeah, it seems like it's that whole maybe Inner Wisdom said it, maybe Glenn said it. It's all the same thing, right? But it's about answering those questions that you didn't even know that you had.
Oh yeah. It was all about patience. It was all about understanding that everything is in the right order at the right time in the right place, and having patience that it's not a time. This isn't a journey of time. That's another very weird thing. It's not a journey of time, but
I appreciated you opening it up to comment. Let's try and do that again. I'll try not to interrupt this time. And Shauna, even though yours is the only face we can see, do not feel pressured to comment. So what do you want to say? No. I just want to offer the opportunity for you to do that if you want to.
Because the faith, like how we experience faith and how we come to this faithfulness question is a really is large world, I think. Because it's being faithfulness is being weaponized because there's only one thing that we're asked to be having faith is, and it's the opposite one answer that the Course is offering us, or the truth is offering us. Both of these arguments are offering us one thing, one answer to it. 2 weeks ago it was remember we were talking about the world offers us the 3 P's: the pleasure, power over, and possessions. So those are it's one answer. It's immerse yourself in material existence. That's the only way happiness is, in the consumption and the processing of material objects through a living body as a matter of course. That's what happiness is the pleasure around accumulating possessions and feelings and having power over other living beings. That's the answer that the world gives us. They have faith in that. Let's build a society on that. That's the other side that's the world we're walking again. We're walking away from.
Kathy wants to talk.
Great.
Thank you, Jacquelyn and Glen. I just was hoping that we could, I'm trying to take a look at what readiness means. And at the end of the first paragraph, it says readiness, as the text notes, is not mastery. And so, mastery being complete faithfulness. And so readiness, then what does that look like? What does that feel like?
Yeah, and thank you for your question, Kathy. A while ago, I described it as eagerness to have a different experience than the one that I'm having. But I'm not certain that that's what Helen's talking about. She could just as easily be talking about, just having the knowledge. But again, I think either of those things are contrasted with having the actual experience. And I think it's the contrast in that sentence that is really important. But I think. So I don't know anything. Glenn, did you want to talk about that?
Readiness for me is the willingness for us to let go of the past, where a lot of our associations come from. Our brain is wired on the past. Readiness means, to me, really loosening my opinions about the past, because that's how I designed the way I think. That's how I get my clutches into the future. That's how I get my clutches into how people are supposed to be, because of my past association with this behavior, this person, or this way of getting things, or the way it worked out last time with my understanding of the, it's my past learning. Forget what she says it over and over again. Forget your past learning. The stinking thinking. You said it at the beginning of the thing. So when I hear readiness from her now, I hear a real loosening of my opinions about the way that it has to be, and that at its core, in my understanding, is a real letting go of the meaning the past has for me. All of it, has for me.
And Kathy, what does it mean to you when you read it? Uh-oh, she's muted. Oh, there she is.
Yeah. Thanks for asking, Jacquelyn. I guess I'm getting the sense that it's just we're successful to some extent, where we're trusting the giving over process to give up all problems to one answer, but then there's some clinging still. It's all, no, really. I mean, I'm going to go to the bank machine and I'm going to, okay, I'm going to take out $100, and is that okay, or really? But anyway, that well, I don't want to bother God with this because that's just too trivial.
Oh.
That's kind of what I was thinking. But then I thought, well, isn't that even itself making an assumption about what that is? And am I fooling myself, twice over? So I thought I'd put that out there. And I appreciate the response that you both gave, because it just broadens it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question and your answer. Right.
Yeah. But faithfulness is, I think, she said that all of the other characteristics are combined, into this when we bring together, and she says over and over again that all of this is based on trust. So trust, and there are 6, 7 stages. How many stages did she say that we're moving through for trust? A lot. So it's probably not ever going to end. You know what I mean? It's not like you get to mastery. There isn't a certificate. We're not going to mastery school. It's the way of mastery, not how to graduate from the best little boy in Jesus school, or whatever thing that we're trying to achieve. However wonderful and valuable that can be to the world. Because it is, but my faithfulness, and the patience that she's talking about, on top of the trust and the way she's spoken about this, all of this in the past. We're about to wrap. We've got one more to go. It does come down to, over and over and over again, who do you think you are? But
that's right.
Examining the block, or like looking at, stumbling over the block, and their blocks at the edifice that we don't know that we've created, or that the world has created, and we've just said that's normal, or that's natural. Discovering, that we're doing all that blocking. It's Zen. I keep hearing this Zen thing, and I've said it in my classes a lot, is that nobody has to tell a hummingbird, how to be a hummingbird. But we're the only humans who say we know. They were talking about, what does it mean to be a warrior? What does it mean to be a good wife? What does it mean to be a, they were talking. This is the question. He goes, yeah, that's
that's the wrong question.
Let's just back up. Let's back up. And so he uses the nature, and that's what Jesus does too. He uses peasant metaphors. He's using farming metaphors. He uses earth metaphors. He uses, to talk about these things, that he even uses the pastoral metaphors of the lilies of the field.
Love that one. That one came up for me again this week. I think that's exactly that's exactly on what faithfulness is.
Great is my faithfulness. So because there's real, and I use this word on purpose, power here. There's real power in the ability to be authentic, and if we have much more strength, much more ability to actually walk out into the world and be us than we think we do.
Yeah.
The amount of lack of faith that I have discovered, and I have more faith in the ways that I tie myself down than in the ways in which I share myself with the world.
Yeah.
I have more faith in the chains that or in the language of A Course in Miracles, and her lovely bondage chains in prison metaphors that she loves so much, that I appreciate. I have more faith in the bars and the chains than I do in the key, and the jailer goes, "There's nobody in here. You can go now."
Oh no!
There's nobody in here. And we're like going, do you know how much money I paid on these chains, for these chains?
Do you know how many years I believed in these chains?
Do you know how I worked? Each one of these is a,
That's us.
I know a lot about it. Speaking of things I know a lot about, I know how to play our outro.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Herein Lies the Peace of God with Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert and Reverend Glen Ganaway. To find out more about Jacquelyn and to donate to Awakening Together Sanctuary, go to www.awakening-together.org. To find out more about Glen and to donate to the Mighty Companions Ministries, go to www.glenganaway.com. That's GLENGANAWAY.com.
I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. We love you, and we'll see you again next week.
Loving each and every one of you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Reverend.